and welcome back. We are in my mini series right now where we are saving seeds from the garden in hopes to plant them next year to get some nice blooms for our roadside flower stand. Or you can do this with your at-home garden if you just want to save a little bit of money. That way you don't have to buy some extra seed packets. You can start your own seeds indoors and plant them out in a new area. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Christy. I'm located in Massachusetts, Zone 6A, and I am an at-home gardener, and we're moving from vegetables and going full on to a cut flower garden next year. And one of the flowers, or I should say this time, one of the foliage that I absolutely loved using as a filler flower is Coleus. Now, I feel like when I was looking up filler flower, I really didn't see anyone mention Coleus, but I absolutely loved it. I would use them in all of my fall inspired bouquets, and it lasts really long and has a great vase life. I actually got a couple of plants from the nursery down the road when they were closing up shop for the year. And at first I wasn't quite sure when she told me, oh, this is an amazing filler flower. I was thinking, but I never read anything saying that Coleus could be used as a filler flower. She's like, yes, it's going to be great. Trust me. So I did. I had 6, I want to say, or 8 plants in the ground, and I didn't use them for a few months, actually. I think I got them at the end of July, and I didn't start using them until maybe the end of August or at least early September. And I was getting great results with them in the vase, like I said, and also people really liked them because they just had that nice maroon color. Now, the ones I'm saving are actually ones that I had in pots, but you can use the same exact process for any of your Coleus that you may be growing in your garden and you want to save for next year. Another reason why I want to grow my own and save my own seeds is because Coleus seeds are pretty dang expensive, especially if you want the tall ones that you can use. The ones that I used this past year were for my mason jars. Now, they weren't super tall. I wouldn't say they'd probably be great, and this is probably also why you don't really hear it very often, but if you're doing like a nice long stem bouquet, they might be too short. But for my mason jars, they were perfect. I would pair them with sunflowers and black-eyed Susans, definitely. So yes, definitely something to think about. So if you're going to be saving your own Coleus seeds, you have to let the plant flower. Usually you might want to cut off the flower, so hopefully your plant keeps growing, gets a little bit bigger, but you want these big flower spikes in order to save the seeds for next year. So for me, I was only able to save my container varieties, but I'm going to be using these for my containers again, and then next year I hope to save some seeds for the ones that I used for my mason jar. And we actually planted these containers together way back when in the spring, so I'll put a picture up of what it looked like, and these are the seeds that I will be saving. It's a nice like reddish maroon. It's just so nice and bright, and I have been getting this same exact one for the past 2 years now. One way you'll know that your seeds are ready to harvest is that these long spikes will start to turn brown, papery, they're a little bit crispy. That is when you know they are ready to harvest. Now, this is what I did to collect, and they've been sitting in here for a while now. So I hope they're still good. I know that there's definitely seeds at the bottom of my bag, but so all I did was put them into a Ziploc bag. Now, you want to make sure they get good airflow. I usually like to put mine in a brown paper bag, but these seeds are teeny tiny, kind of think of like snapdragon seeds. They're just a tiny little brown or black speck, so to speak. And there's already some at the bottom down here. So I opted for a plastic bag. So these have been sitting in here for quite a while now, and I really need to harvest them because it's starting to get that little like mold like fuzz. It's not moist by any means. Everything is still nice and crisp. But I need to get these out of here because, like I said, I usually do them in a brown paper bag. So they have not been getting super good airflow probably, which is the reason why they are looking like this. So let's get them out of this bag and save some seeds. Now, one thing I do want to mention though, is you can just crush the seeds if you would like. I like to use a paper plate. You can actually just use, if you would like, a paper towel, a bowl, just something that it can dry on, because even though these are dry right now, I will also still give them a quick 2 to 4 days, or probably like a week or so, let's be honest, to dry additionally before I store them in my envelopes. I also find with separating smaller seeds, I use these for my coneflower, my black-eyed Susan, is this trusty mesh strainer. I tried using it for some of my zinnias, but it's just too small, but it just helps let the extra debris or the seeds separate a little bit better. So I definitely use this for my coneflower. Those are a little bit trickier to separate, but we're gonna be using this for my Coleus. And I also like to save mine in these little brown paper envelopes right here. You don't have to go this route if you don't want. You can even get them plain. You can put them in like another envelope. I just like to stay organized, so I'll just write the seed type, where I harvested it from, and the year. However, I also go a step further with my smaller seeds, and I will put them in this little Ziploc bag, and then I will put them in here. Just this way it won't fall out through the sides or get stuck in the little corners. And that is another reason why I'm going to let them dry for another 2 to 4 days at least. But if you let them dry for a while, totally fine. Just make sure you leave them out of direct sunlight. You want them in a nice, cool, dry, dark place. So I actually just move mine into the closet until I'm ready to store them. So we're gonna start harvesting some seeds. I'm gonna flip the camera around so you can see how I do it. I'm just going to be using a paper bowl right here, putting my strainer inside and then crushing the seeds inside the strainer. And then I will just sift it like you would if you were baking, or shake it, and then hoping that the Coleus seeds will fall into my paper bowl right here. And then we can just let them dry and it'll be nice and quick and simple. So let's get to it. All right, so we have our paper bowl. I'm going to put my strainer in here, and then I am going to take my Coleus seeds. Now I'm just gonna put on some gloves just because they do have a smidge bit of mold growing. So I just am going to be a little bit cautious, but it's going to be pretty simple. So let's see. So I'm just gonna take them and just rub the seed pods. And it always creates such a nice mess. And these are all branched and stuck together. So I'm sure that I'm gonna have some on my counter. All right, let's see if I can do this. A bit. So here is my bag, and I am just going to crush them in there, and then we can even crush them up a little bit more. I'm just gonna break that off. And add some more. And I do have a lot on the bottom too. And then we're just gonna dump all of this in there. We want no seed left behind. Now I have a ton of flower heads that fell on the table, so I'm gonna try and get those later. But right now, all I'm going to do is just gently, almost like massage the seeds, or the flower pods, I should say. And then by doing so, we will be getting the start. Do you guys see the seeds? And I can definitely separate this even more. I can blow on it. Anytime that you have some chaff that's still stuck, you can go outside and just gently blow on it, and then usually it will just fly away. So then you can separate it a little bit better. But as you can see, this one is a little bit messier than most, but everything's getting separated nicely. And there are definitely some of those seeds at the bottom. So I'm gonna keep going, and then I'll try and separate them as best as I can. We can always sift it through again. All right, so after all of that, we are left with this mess right here. And there's definitely some part of the flower heads in here. Oh, and some of my hair apparently. So I'm just going to take another plate. And this time I'm not gonna be crushing it as much. I'm just hoping that if I leave it here and like, look, okay, let me see if I just put that over there. Just by simply doing that, you can see some more seeds in there. And then if I ever wanted to just quickly go and blow, you'll be left with more of the seeds. So I'm gonna keep doing that and see how many we can get. Hey, you know what? I think I only bought like 8 plants, so I'll be pretty happy if I get, you know, even say 10 or 15 seeds. So I am just gently tapping, and you can see all this is still staying there. I'm not crushing it or anything. And we can always do more rounds of this. So I'm gonna put this off to the side. And I see that some of those little specks did go off. So we're just going to keep gently, whoop. But you can hear the seeds. All right, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But I can see a bunch of seeds in there. Do you see all those seeds? Awesome. I'm probably gonna put this on a paper towel and just sift through them and call it a day. All right, so I have been trying to sift through them, and I found if I put it on a paper towel and just gently tap, I am able to have the seeds roll down. Isn't that cool? Look at how many we have. And I'm sure there's still more in this strainer, but honestly, this is plenty. And this would cost so much if I were to buy this as a seed packet. So I just have everything here, and I am just gently tapping and or shaking, and you can see the little seeds fall off. And that's pretty darn good. Now there's probably a couple still on here, and I still have this whole amount left. I think there was a couple of seeds on there, but I am going to leave it as that because this is so many seeds, so many. And you see how tiny they are? So we're gonna leave it like that. So like, here's my finger. They are really, really small. So we're gonna leave it, and I'm labeled my plate so that way I know these are my nice red Coleus seeds. And I'm gonna let them dry here for probably until next weekend, to be honest. It's Saturday. So this will be great. And then we will store them again in a plastic, and again afterwards we'll store them in a plastic baggie, and then I'll put them in my paper envelope and save them until we're ready to plant them out. Alrighty, and it's as simple as that. We are done collecting our Coleus seeds. I really enjoy saving seeds, especially because you can grow them either with direct sowing, or you can do winter sowing milk jugs, or you can start them indoors. So this is going to give me a great start to my containers. I don't know if I can use these ones per se for my flower stand and making my arrangements, but they're definitely great for my containers. And it's going to be one less thing I need to purchase down at the nursery, even though I absolutely love going there so much. But maybe I can wait and just grab some of her more mature ones when she closes up in the end of July to use, so I don't have to grow all the things in my garden right now, especially since we are going to try and start with my spring flowers. So I hope you found that helpful, and we have a nice little mini series. I have some more seeds that I plan on saving. Now, while I wasn't taking you along for harvesting them, this is just something that you can keep in the back of your mind, maybe for next year on how to save them and store them. So if you would like to follow along, we have some Black-Eyed Susans coming up next. I also already made videos on how to save celosia and zinnia seeds, so go ahead and check that out. I'll also put in the description the products I like to use from Amazon, the sifter, and my envelopes. So until next time, go ahead and click like and subscribe and hit that bell button, and I'll see y'all next time. Happy gardening. Bye.